Recently, I updated the screensaver on my laptop to show this carousel of pictures from my photo album whenever so many minutes of idle time go by. And I really enjoyed watching old memories resurface through pictures. But then there was this one day, a photo of me came up, and I was probably 13 or 14 years old. And I had such an emotional response to this photo. There was an audible gasp that left my body involuntarily. I knew her. I knew her well. I knew her fears and her dreams. I knew her secrets and the pains that she never shared. Later that evening, I was in the bathroom getting ready for bed like a regular evening. And when I looked in the mirror, it hit me why that picture took me by such surprise. While I recognized that teenage version of myself, there are parts of the adult version of me that I don't recognize. I don't know who this woman is. I mean, have you ever had that? Where you're not in a crisis, but sometimes you just catch your own reflection or an old memory, and something in you goes, wait, I wonder who she is now. It's it's a strange kind of disorientation because technically there's nothing wrong. You just grew. And growing, even the good kind, has a way of sneaking up on you until one day you're standing in a life you don't fully recognize, wearing a face that used to make sense to you on sight. Maybe it's not even your own reflection, though. What if it's your time or your friend group? What if it's the things that used to excite you that now feels real whack? Maybe it's even the version of you that used to say yes to every invitation, and now you protect your evenings like they're sacred, and you don't even feel bad about it. Or maybe the things that used to tick you off in a split second, or they don't even phase you anymore. You look up one day and go, when did I become her? Can we talk about it? Hey, y'all. I'm Senecca, and this is Exhaled Hope, where we have real conversations about faith in the middle of the mess. No hype, no guilt, no pretending we have it all together. Just truth that leaves us with real hope. That probably sounds like an odd question. Who am I? Or who have I become? But I don't think you not recognizing yourself means something went wrong. But I do think it's disorienting enough that we don't talk about it much. And when we don't talk about it, we start treating this disorientation like a problem to fix instead of a season to just sit in. Here's what I keep coming back to about the bathroom mirror moment. The mirror only shows me the woman I am right now, standing right there in that moment. It can't show me every version I've ever been, and it definitely can't show me who I'm still becoming. A mirror's got a pretty limited job, if you will. It only reflects whatever's standing in front of it. But what we see on the surface is not the sum total of who we are. And I think a lot of us have been using this mirror to answer a question it was never made to answer. Who am I? The mirror can tell you what you look like today. It can even tell you if you still have crust in your eyes, but it will never be able to tell you who you are. And while we're here, neither can social media. For some of us, that's the mirror of choice. And because we aren't in the same place, living the same type of life as those whose entire job is to influence you, we've decided who we are based on that standard. But I digress. My bad. Let me get focused back on the topic at hand. So here's the thing about mirrors. Whether it's glass or a screen, they only ever show you a surface. And surfaces change depending on the light, the angle, even the day you're having. And if you're building your identity off of something that shifts every time the lighting does, Of course, you're going to lose track of who you are. That's not a personal failure. That's just what happens when you ask a surface to do a soul's job. Psalm 139 is one of my favorite Psalms, and David opens it like this. Can I read it to you? Okay, let's look at Psalm 139. He says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You understand my thought from afar. You scrutinize my path and my lying down, and are intimately acquainted with all my ways. Even before there is a word on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it all. You have enclosed me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is too high. I cannot attain to it." The first word that strikes me in Psalm 139 is searched. Understanding that God was so intentional that he searched David. David is saying, he searched me. He studied me. He didn't miss a detail concerning me. And he wanted to know about me. Him searching us is evidence of his love for us. Then the next word that I love in this psalm is known. Not known of, not recognized from a distance. Known the way you know somebody's whole story. They're sitting down and they're rising up. Their thoughts before they even found the words for them. Now, I don't know this to be true, but I imagine David is just sitting and thinking about the loving kindness and grace of God because he keeps going. And this time, he goes back before he was even born because he goes on to say in verse 13, "For you formed me for my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you. When I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth, your eyes have seen my unformed substance. And in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. Before there was one of them. Before there was a 13-year-old girl to gasp over on a screensaver. Before there was a grown woman standing in a bathroom trying to figure out who she'd become. God had already seen it all. And it was all written down before day one. Y'all, that's crazy to even think about. So think about the phrase for a second, unformed substance. David isn't just talking about a body that hadn't finished developing. He's naming a version of himself that didn't have shape yet. It didn't have no features. There was no story attached to it yet. And God still saw it, still called it known, still wrote days into a book for a person who didn't exist yet in any recognizable form. If God could look at an unformed substance and call it known, then a grown woman standing in a bathroom, fully formed, but feeling unfamiliar to herself, was never in danger of being lost to him. You can't outchange what he already saw coming. And that matters. That matters because I think a lot of us are quietly afraid we've changed into someone God didn't sign off on. Like we've drifted somewhere off the map, and now we're going to have to explain ourselves when we get there. But you can't drift somewhere God didn't already know you'd be. Every version of you, the one from the photo, the one in the mirror, and the one still ahead, were already inside that book before there was a single day to write down. You're not catching him up. You could never do that. So when I stood in that mirror, not recognizing myself, I wasn't unknown. I was just looking at myself the way I do from the inside. And God was never looking at me that way. He wasn't waiting on the next photo to update his understanding of me. He knew the 14-year-old and the woman in the mirror the exact same amount because he knew both of them before either one existed. That doesn't erase the disorientation. I still had that gasp. I still stood there a little unsettled. But it changes what the disorientation means. Not recognizing yourself isn't proof you're lost. It's just proof you're not finished. And you were never asked to be your own mirror. You were only asked to be known by the one who already had the whole thing written down. The other thing I love about this psalm is the way David ends it. He starts it with a statement. You have searched me and known me. But he ends it with a request. He says in verse 23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there be any hurtful way in me, and lead me in the everlasting way. That's not a man hiding from being known. That's a man asking to be known even further. So maybe this being unrecognizable isn't a bad thing, but maybe it's an invitation to allow him to search the parts you can't see in any mirror. Let him lead you somewhere you can't chart on your own. I'll be honest, I don't fully miss that 14-year-old girl, but I still caught my breath over her. It's a strange kind of grief, missing someone you don't actually want back. But if I could see her today, I have so much to tell her. I tell her which fears never came true. I tell her which ones she wasted years caring for nothing. I tell her the parts of herself she was ashamed of are some of the same parts that I've learned to be the gentlest with now. And they're some of the parts I love most about me. If you're hanging out in this place too, sitting with a version of yourself you've outgrown but still catch yourself grieving a little, I don't think that's confusion. I think that's just what it feels like to be the person who's still becoming. So if you catch yourself this week in one of those flickering moments of an old photo or a memory or a version of yourself that doesn't quite line up with who's standing there now, I don't think you have to explain it or even try to fix it on the spot. You don't owe that moment a resolution. You're allowed to just notice it. Let it be a little strange and keep going. You're allowed to still be figuring out some of it while you fold laundry, while you drive to work, while you're standing in front of the mirror that only ever shows you today. Being known was never about you having the answers ready. We will all have a moment where we need a little hope, when we don't recognize ourselves. And this is where hope wins. It's not because you've got it figured out. It's because grace was never waiting on you to recognize yourself first. All right, y'all. That's it for this episode. As always, thank you for hanging out with me. If you haven't already, follow us on all the social media channels and share this episode with someone. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Have a good one.